Picture this. It's 2:47 a.m. I'm sitting in my home office, staring at a screen showing my account down $63,000 in a single day. My hands are shaking. My wife is asleep upstairs, trusting that I'm building our future, not destroying it. And in that moment, I realized something that would change everything about how I approach trading. What I discovered that night wasn't a new strategy or some secret indicator. It was something far more powerful and far more terrifying. I discovered that every single trader, without exception, goes through the exact same psychological journey. 5 distinct stages that will either break you completely or forge you into the kind of trader who can consistently pull money from the markets. Here's the thing that nobody tells you. These stages aren't optional. You can't skip them. You can't outsmart them. And most importantly, you can't trade profitably until you understand exactly where you are in this journey and what it's going to take to reach the other side. I'm going to share something with you today that I wish someone had told me 15 years ago when I first started trading. Something that could have saved me not just money, but years of pain, frustration, and self-doubt. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal in stage 5 might be the most counterintuitive thing you'll hear about trading this year. And if you find this valuable, hit that subscribe button, because understanding your psychological journey is the difference between being part of the 90% who fail or the 10% who actually make it. Before we dive into this, could I please ask you to like and subscribe to this channel? It really helps me out and will allow me to create more content like this for you to help you in your trading career. It's a small token, but goes a long way. Thank you very much. Now, back to the program. Stage 1. The honeymoon phase. Let me take you back to my first month of trading. I had quit my corporate job, convinced I'd cracked the code. Why? Because in my first 3 weeks, I'd made more money than my previous monthly salary. The dopamine was intoxicating. Every green candle felt like validation. Every profit felt like genius. I remember calling my brother, telling him I'd found my calling. The market was easy. Patterns were obvious. I was a natural. Sound familiar? This is what I call the honeymoon phase, and it's the most dangerous phase of all. Not because you're losing money, but because you're winning for all the wrong reasons. Your brain is getting rewarded for behavior that will eventually destroy you. Here's what nobody tells you about beginner's luck. It's not actually luck. The market has cycles where almost any strategy works. Bull markets make everyone feel like a genius. But you don't know you're in a favorable cycle until it ends. During my honeymoon phase, I was making every mistake in the book. No stop losses, over-leveraging, revenge trading. But the market was forgiving my mistakes with profits, so I thought my mistakes were actually skills. I started taking bigger positions. Why shouldn't I? I was clearly gifted at this. I began ignoring risk management principles I'd read about. Those were for other people, the unlucky ones, the ones who didn't have the touch. The most insidious part of this phase is how it rewires your relationship with risk. Every win reinforces the belief that you're different, that you're special. You start believing your own hype. The market becomes your personal ATM, and you're just waiting for your next withdrawal. But here's the brutal truth I learned. The market gives you just enough rope to hang yourself with. It builds your confidence with small wins, so it can take everything back with massive losses. The traders who survive this phase do one thing differently. They stay humble. They treat every win as suspect until they understand why it happened. They know that in trading, your greatest enemy is often your last victory. Stage 2. The wake-up call. Then came that night I mentioned at the beginning, October 15th, 2019. I'll never forget it. The market had shifted. My golden strategies weren't working anymore. What started as a small losing streak became a hemorrhage. Every trade that had worked for months was now failing spectacularly. But I kept doubling down, convinced it was just a bad patch. This is stage 2, the wake-up call, and it hits everyone eventually. The emotional crash is devastating. It's not just about the money, though losing half your account in 2 weeks certainly stings. It's about your identity. For months, you've been the trader, the one with the golden touch. Now you're just another casualty. I remember the shame, the anger, the confusion. How could something that seemed so natural suddenly become so impossible? Was the whole thing just a mirage? This is where most people quit. The statistics are brutal. 80% of new traders give up within the first 2 years, and most of them quit right here in stage 2. They walk away convinced that trading is either a scam or something they're just not built for. But here's what I discovered during my darkest trading period. Failure is not the opposite of success in trading. It's the raw material of success. Every blown trade was actually giving me data. Every emotional reaction was showing me exactly where my psychology was weakest. The market wasn't punishing me, it was educating me, though the tuition was expensive. The turning point came when I stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, what is this trying to teach me? I began keeping detailed journals. Not just what trades I took, but what I was thinking and feeling when I took them. The patterns became obvious. I was emotional when I should have been logical. I was impulsive when I should have been patient. I was ego-driven when I should have been process-driven. Stage 2 breaks you down for a reason. It strips away your illusions so you can build something real. It forces you to confront the uncomfortable truth that trading is not about being right. It's about being consistent. Stage 3, the learning grind. What came next was the most humbling, exhausting, and ultimately transformative period of my trading career. I call it the learning grind, and it lasted almost 3 years. 3 years of studying, backtesting, paper trading, journaling, and slowly rebuilding my approach from the ground up. This is where most surviving traders get lost. They become strategy collectors. They hop from YouTube guru to YouTube guru, always looking for the holy grail system that's going to solve all their problems. I did this too. I probably tested 50 different strategies during this period. But here's what I slowly realized. The strategy was never the problem. I was the problem. I remember the exact moment this clicked. I was backtesting a simple moving average crossover system. Nothing fancy, no secret indicators. And it was profitable. Not incredibly profitable, but consistently profitable over thousands of trades. So I started trading it live and immediately began losing money. Same system, same rules, same market conditions. But now I was involved, and I was the variable that made it fail. This is when the real work began. I had to study myself as intensely as I studied the markets. I had to understand why I exited winners too early, why I held losers too long, why I took trades that didn't meet my criteria when I was frustrated, and why I missed perfect setups when I was scared. I started treating trading like the profession it is. I built routines, I developed processes. I created checklists for everything, not just entry and exit criteria, but psychological checklists. Am I trading from emotion right now? Am I following my rules or improvising? The breakthrough came when I stopped looking for perfect trades and started focusing on perfect execution. I realized that a mediocre strategy executed flawlessly will always outperform a brilliant strategy executed poorly. This stage is brutal because progress is slow and often invisible. You're not making money yet. You're just getting slightly less wrong each day. But every small improvement compounds. Every psychological insight builds on the last. During this period, I also learned something crucial about the market. It doesn't care about your opinion. It doesn't care about your analysis. It only cares about your behavior. And your behavior is entirely under your control. Stage 4, the breakthrough. After 3 years of grinding, something shifted. I can't pinpoint the exact day, but I started noticing that my trades were working more often. Not because I'd found some magic formula, but because I was finally executing my plan consistently. This is stage 4, the breakthrough. And it doesn't come with fireworks. It's quiet, almost anticlimactic. You wake up one day and realize you haven't revenge traded in weeks. You take a loss, and your first thought isn't anger or fear. It's curiosity about what you can learn from it. You start seeing your P&L as just information, not a judgment of your worth as a person. For me, the breakthrough came during a particularly volatile period in the market. Old me would have been either paralyzed by fear or reckless with greed, but I found myself staying calm, sticking to my process, and actually profiting from the chaos while others were panicking. This is when trading stops being about the money and starts being about the craft. You develop what I call professional detachment. You care deeply about doing your job well, but you're not emotionally attached to any individual outcome. Your relationship with risk changes completely. Losses become expected parts of the process, not personal failures. You size your positions based on mathematical probability, not on how confident you feel about the trade. But here's the dangerous part of stage 4. Success can breed complacency. I remember getting a little lazy with my journaling, skipping my evening reviews, taking slightly bigger risks because I've got this figured out now. The market has a way of humbling traders who forget the basics. I had a few setbacks that reminded me that respect for the market is not optional. It's the price of admission to long-term success. The real test of stage 4 isn't how you handle winning streaks. It's how you maintain your discipline during the boring periods. Because consistent profitability often means doing the same thing, the right way, thousands of times. It's not glamorous, but it works. Stage 5, true mastery. Now let me tell you about stage 5, true mastery. And here's that counterintuitive truth I promised you at the beginning. Most people think mastery means always being right, or making huge profits, or having some secret edge that nobody else has. But after 15 years of trading and working with hundreds of other professional traders, I've learned that true mastery is actually about surrender. You surrender the need to be right. You surrender the ego that wants to predict every market move. You surrender the fantasy of controlling outcomes, and instead you focus entirely on controlling your process. At this level, trading becomes almost meditative. You show up each day, follow your routine, execute your plan, and let the probabilities play out. You're not fighting the market anymore. You're dancing with it. I remember the exact moment I knew I'd reached this stage. I was having my best month in years, and I felt nothing. No excitement, no pride. Just calm satisfaction that my process was working. And then I took a series of losses the following week, and again, nothing. No frustration, no self-doubt. Just data to analyze and adjustments to consider. This is what emotional mastery actually looks like. Not the absence of emotions, but the ability to observe them without being controlled by them. Fear still shows up, but it doesn't dictate your actions. Greed still whispers in your ear, but you don't listen. You develop what I call professional amnesia, the ability to treat each new trade as if it's the first trade you've ever taken, unburdened by the emotional baggage of previous wins or losses. But here's the most important part. Even at stage 5, you never stop learning. The market is constantly evolving, and so must you. The difference is that now you're learning from a place of strength rather than desperation. Conclusion. So here's what I want you to understand. That night when I was staring at my screen, down $63,000, wasn't my failure. It was my education. Every stage of this journey, every painful lesson, every humbling moment was preparing me for the trader I needed to become. The market didn't take my money, it invested in my education, and the tuition, while expensive, was worth every penny. Today I trade with a calmness and consistency that my younger self couldn't have imagined. Not because I've eliminated risk, but because I've learned to dance with uncertainty. Not because I always win, but because I know exactly how to lose. Your journey through these 5 stages is inevitable. The only question is, will you let them break you or will you let them make you? The choice is yours. The stages are waiting. Thanks for joining me today. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more insights on trading psychology. And remember, the real battle is never on the charts. It's in your mind. Trade well.